Hello, I'm Allison Charney, and this is Preformance's Season of Hope. In this series of concert and conversation with some of today's most sought-after classical musicians, we will explore the theme of hope while offering Preformance's signature ungoogleable insights into the music we make. We also will address the existential question, if musicians are making music, but there's no one there to hear it, have we really made the music? My answer, not without you, our audience. By being here to listen, you are playing a critical role in the experience we are going to share together. I am delighted to welcome composer Kim D. Sherman to Preformance's Season of Hope. Welcome, Kim.
Thanks, Allison. It's so great to be here.
So nice to be with you. We go back a long way, and since then we have had so many collaborations over the years, over the decades.
Was the first thing we did, well, the first thing was Oh Pioneers, and I then, after that show, made a song cycle out of the music from Oh Pioneers.
And some actually, of it was the journey of that piece is what I'd love to talk about today.
Great.
As it has evolved and evolved and evolved and reincarnated and turned into a really new piece for the ARK Trio. I am delighted to welcome to Preformance's Season of Hope two of Preformance's most favorite guest artists from seasons past, cellist Kajsa William-Olsson and pianist Reiko Uchida. And together with me, we are the ARK Trio. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So we are very far apart from each other right now. Kajsa, tell us where you are.
I am in Stockholm, Sweden.
And Reiko, where are you?
I'm in California, in Los Angeles.
And I am in New York. So we are a strange trio formation right now, that's for sure. I would much rather be in person. So today we're going to perform some selections from our upcoming recording, Love Resounding. And I thought I would just ask you to share some of your insights into the pieces. I'm going to try to ask you questions I actually don't know your answer to. Let's talk about recipe. Reiko, tell me, I've actually known this piece for a long time because although Kim set this cycle for us, it's actually a cycle that has existed for quite some time. And I made a recording of it in a different format many years ago. And so I had already had a relationship with the piece. I'm wondering what you thought when you first heard this one, since it's a little playful.
This was I think it's probably the first piece that we played together, and the first piece that I got to hear you to play with you, and you just had so much fun with this, and this was my introduction to Allison, and I loved it.
The recipe is this great list of ingredients that rum plum pudding. And to me, the recipe is the drunk part of the pudding. I don't know if you think the same thing.
I think the whole thing is like the drunk part of the pudding.
You have to laugh. When you're settling the prairie, it's so hard.
I wonder if that isn't really emblematic of our times. I've been struggling myself with the question of whether or not it's important to be making music right now, or if we should just be devoting all of our attention to health and safety and the pursuit of justice and the demand for justice. And then I think again, and I think, maybe giving people a breath, a chance to just escape for a moment into their own thoughts and feelings and heart, if that isn't still an important job of the artist and the musician, even in such devastatingly troubling times. And so the idea that even your piece that really is about the struggle of settling the prairie, that there are these moments of levity, because for crying out loud, you need it, even in the hardest roughest, toughest winter with no food and no communication, no rain, no communication to the outside world, and still you have to find some humanity.
Yeah.
So let's get to this fun piece now. Here is Recipe from Prairie Diary by Kim Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio.
Sugar and cloves, allspice and nutmeg to taste. Mr. Zubakowski from over Polish town adds a little ginger.
That was Recipe from Prairie Diary by Kim D. Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio. So Kim, so we've talked about Recipe. Let's talk a little bit about, we're doing also the opening and closing songs of this song cycle. And again, a song cycle is a compilation of songs that go together in some way. In this case, in Prairie Diary, it's telling the story of life on the prairie in the heartland, settling the land. But I think also each of these songs really works out of context just by themselves. So can you tell us about the beginning and the ending, which my teacher in college, Professor Louise Vaskirchen, brilliant pianist and musician and educator, always used to tell us that we should look at the beginning and the ending of every piece and see how they connect before we can understand the whole piece, and really learn how the ending was derived from the beginning. That was one of her big lessons. So I think about that circle all the time, that it's not a linear experience going through a piece of music from the beginning note to the double bar at the end, but it's a circle of how does that double bar relate back to that very first note.
Yes.
In this case, we're doing piece one and the final piece from the cycle. So can you just tell us a little bit about those two pieces?
One of the things about Prairie Dawn is that the sunrise. And then the evening prayer is the sunset.
I've never thought about that before. I can't believe this is coming up. I'm learning something new about this piece that I've known for decades and decades. How fun.
Yeah. And so the Prairie Dawn, again, the cello has this like coming from the ground, and then that first like part of the song, I just feel like the gesture is to come from the earth and then become this like evolving into this beautiful sunrise, and what it's like in the morning before anything is happening. So there's this quiet power to it. Yeah, and the text describes the sky and the sounds and the smells.
For me, there is a very specific world of sound that gets introduced with this piece.
To me, this sounds so American in the best sense.
Yeah.
And I hadn't spent so much time in America, and I could instantly feel the smells and the sounds of. I've spent quite a bit of time in Santa Fe, and somehow I always think of Santa Fe with that very first movement.
Kim herself hails from the Midwest, and I feel like, to me, that's the sounds of those are the sounds of this piece. Very heartland of America, very Copeland-esque, but in a Kim Sherman way. So let's play it for you now. Here is Prairie Dawn from Prairie Diary by Kim D. Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio. And that was Prairie Dawn from Prairie Diary by Kim D. Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio. And then the final piece
is sort of like a prayer and a love song all together, all at once. And it also, to me, feels like, you know, you've worked really hard, you've exerted a lot of strength and energy, do all these things. So it's the end of a day, but it's also the end of years.
Although with those pianissimo high notes, you don't make it a relaxing piece to get through.
It's reflective.
Yes. But from the performer's point of view, it's hardly like let down at the end of the day.
No, it's not like let down. It's like reflection.
Yeah.
To me.
That's a deep and difficult point of the reflection, that I suppose. It is a beautiful, beautiful song. It's one of my all-time favorites.
I love that one too.
I love singing it, and I love the challenges of it. And even Kajsa loves it in this really difficult key for the cello.
I love the evening song. It's beautiful. And it was in a key that let my cello ring beautifully and openly. But Allison wasn't happy with her voice, how that sounded. So she said, let's change the key. And Kim Sherman is a very flexible composer. She said, fine. So now, personally, I think it's a hard key to play. My open strings don't ring, and it's just harder to, it's a harder piece for me to play. But
Kajsa, could you explain for us just a little bit what that means when you say open strings?
So the cello is tuned in fifth, meaning the top string is an A string, and then we have a D, a G, and a C. And whenever I play a D, any D on the cello, that makes the D string ring, and also the A string, because A is a note in the D major chord or D minor chord. So D and A, they ring freely. And even the G string rings like the cello is open. But with everything, I think half a note lower or whatever you changed it to, nothing rings freely. So I have to create the overtones myself, which is a challenge, but I guess that's also fun.
I think you sound beautiful, open or not. And with that, why don't we play Evening Song from Prairie Diary by Kim D. Sherman.
Si vous
And that was Evening Song from Prairie Diary by Kim D. Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio. For me, it feels like a brand new piece with the ARK Trio.
This is what I love about working with you and working with performers is what I like to call tailor making. You know, it needs a little extension here and a little key change there, and
Nip and tuck.
Really,
Nip and tuck, Kim Sherman style. Some things you just had to re-registrate.
Yes.
To put in the register the span of notes that worked better for cello than for clarinet.
Yes.
And in others of the pieces, did you rethink the role of the cello?
Yes. Was it The Years Go By?
That's Transpirations.
Yeah. So in that song, the cello kind of has its own journey in that song now. It's completely rethought. That I'm sure that song must feel so different.
It's interesting that you talk about the journey of the cello, because I think that Michael Ching thought greatly about the cello's journey in some of his reinterpretations of Schubert songs, where there was no third voice to begin with. There was nothing other than voice and piano. And then when he added in cello, it wasn't just to fill out the harmonies. It was really to create a whole other journey. I think that might even be the same word he would use.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's interesting. Maybe this whole segment is about the journey of the cello. So let's hear this journey of the cello in Transformation Song from Prairie Diary by Kim Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio.
From
that was Transformation Song from Prairie Diary by Kim Sherman, performed by the ARK Trio. In this series, I'm asking my guest artists to explore the theme of hope in these times that feel so bleak.
Kajsa, let me ask you first. Can you give us any sense of hope from your end of the world?
Well, in Sweden, we haven't shut down quite so harsh as in many other places in the world. So actually, my orchestra, the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra, is still performing with no live audience, but we're playing music, and we're with a small orchestra sitting really far apart. And it's a challenge, but really fun, and everyone is so excited to play music. And I think the creativity among musicians all around the world, and artists for that matter, just shows how important culture is for all of us.
You know, that reminds me of my favorite quotation of all time by Henry David Thoreau from Walden. If we respected only what is inevitable and has a right to be, music and poetry would resound along the streets.
Yeah.
So even now, we have to find a way to keep the music and poetry coming, even if we're not out on the streets. And Reiko,
Right.
How about you? Is there anything you're holding on to these days that can give us some hope?
I've never taken it for granted, chamber music, but I'm really hopeful for the day that I could be with you all and to play together and to feel the energy with the audience, to connect with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the questions that sort of has propelled this series, Performances Season of Hope, is if you're a professional classical musician and you're making music, but there's nobody there to hear it, are you still a musician? Have you still made music? And my answer to that is that we really do need our audience. We need people to hear it. And so I'm hopeful that with this new format, we can still reach the audience. And even though we can't hear from them in the moment, we still hope that we're having a connection with you, the audience, and that together we're having this experience. Kim, I can't tell you how great it has been to talk to you today. And I'm so grateful to you for being with me in these times and also giving me the opportunity to sing your beautiful music and for reimagining it for the ARK Trio. And here's to seeing you in person.
Yes, indeed. And over the years, we've had such an incredible collaboration that keeps evolving. And it keeps reminding me that change is good.
Here's to change. Here's to hope. And certainly one of my great hopes is that I get to see you ladies again in person very soon and make music with you soon. So here's to the ARK Trio being together in person. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
Bye.
Thank you, Reiko. Bye.
I close every performances the same way with Richard Strauss's 90-second long gem, Zueignung, a piece filled with Dank, with thanks, because I am always truly so overfilled with gratitude at this point in the program. I would like to thank all the featured guests on Performances Season of Hope, and I would also like to thank our charitable partner, the Bassler Center at the University of Pennsylvania, for their miraculous and life-saving cancer research. If you'd like to learn more about performances and find out how you can contribute to future programming, please visit us at www.preformances.org, where you will also see a list of our friends whose generosity enables this series to happen. My special thanks to our 11th season maestros, Mindy and Jonathan Gray, Sally Ann and Irvin Epstein, and the Gray Foundation. I'd like to thank our producer, editor, and engineer, Evan Epstein, and you, our Performances audience, for giving us a reason to keep the music playing. And now, along with Performances official collaborative pianist Craig Ketter, Zueignung by Richard Strauss. I'm Allison Charney. Habe Dank.
Ja, du weißt es, teure Seele, dass ich fern von dir mich wähle. Lebe Was ich nehme will.